Now listening to WSN, the Wolf Sports Network.
Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes.
I'm going to disagree with you right there because the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to have less wins this year than the team that I'm about to talk about. And the team that I'm about to talk about are the Atlanta Falcons.
The hottest debates.
He's the all-time leading scorer, a four-time MVP. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, not MJ.
Yeah, greatest losing in the finals, maybe.
In some of the top interviews, Brendan Willoughby Ray, joined by the rest of the Fab Five, Mr. Gavin Ellis, Mrs. Carly Pale, Miss Gianna Wilcox.
Carly Pale is crazy. Yo, tell us how you really feel, Brendan.
Carly Pear,
Tell us how you really
Wilcox, and one Richard Reed. This is Sports Pack brought to you by Dine West. Remember, you can always reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. Call the Wolves card office at 678-839-6525 or stop by their office in the UCC. Now, we have a jam-packed show for y'all tonight. Some huge NBA action. We got a preview, huge college basketball weekend we got to get into. NFL free agency madness about to begin. Going to dive into all of that. But first things first, we had the incredible opportunity to interview the now GSC Player of the Year, superstar point guard for the West Georgia Wolves, Zawdie Jackson. Now, this past Super Tuesday, we got a huge W, but we did this interview that same Tuesday in the afternoon. So just keep in mind, this interview was done before our last win, but nonetheless, it was a great experience. Zawdie, big-time friend of the show. It's the fourth time we had him in for an interview. It was great. Hope you enjoy it.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby. Go Wolves. And now we are joined by a very special guest, great friend of the show, GSC Player of the Year candidate, Wolves point guard, Zawdie Jackson. How's it going, man?
Great. Always happy to be here. Love talking to you guys.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you always coming in.
For sure. Appreciate y'all.
So just starting off, can you kind of tell us, like, the journey of the season and, like, highs, lows, what got you guys to this point?
I would say everything's been good so far. It's been mostly highs. I mean, of course, you have lows with people getting injured and us not playing our best game, but a lot of those times we'll still come out victorious. So most of the time it's been highs. We had a couple of lows when our star three-man got injured. He hurt his hamstring a little bit, but mostly it's been highs.
So what's the difference between this season and all the other ones? Because last year was another great season, made the NCAA tournament, but this team just feels different, seems special, undefeated at home. What happened in the offseason to make this team so different?
I know the people that I live with, personally, 623, two of them didn't go home, and I was back and forth. So I would just say, like, really putting in the work over the summer. I feel like that really makes a difference, you know, because when you're going home, you have a lot of distractions and hometown friends. But Cam, KG, myself, and Mari, I know we spent a lot of time here working out, trying to really get better because we knew we had the capability to do something special, and now y'all are seeing it.
Now, as I alluded to before, you're a candidate to win GSC Player of the Year, averaging 21-5 this year, been an absolute dynamo. Make your case on Sports Pack why you deserve the Player of the Year honors.
I'm a really humble guy, but I would just say we have the best team in the conference, number one. I was nominated for a Bevo Francis Award, which only certain people in the country are nominated for. And last year, the best player on the best team got the award, so I don't think we should change up the criteria.
Yeah, that was a really humble answer, but I'll just say it. He's been the best player in the country. That's why he deserves to win it, all right? Anything short of GSC Player of the Year isn't doing him justice.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Now, going into the GSC tournament, though, this is huge. I mean, the NCAA tournament is in a couple weeks, but first you got to handle the GSC tournament. What are your expectations going into this? Who do you think is going to be a really tough team to go up against on this journey of winning the GSC?
If I'm being honest, I think every team. I feel like the key to winning tournaments is not looking ahead. I would say you have to go 1-0 every game, right? So we're going to play Union first. So as of right now, they're our toughest opponent. We got to know what they want to do, know what they're going to try to stop us from doing, and really just try to game plan and focus on them. We can't look ahead to next week or Saturday or Birmingham or the championship. We have to look ahead to tonight at 7:30. So I would just say one game at a time. Yeah, that's really it.
Now, there is one opponent still out there, though, Lee, who you guys fell to in dramatic fashion last year. Are there any conversations right now in the locker room talking about Lee? They might be there in Birmingham, face off again, 1 seed, 2 seed, with the title on the line. How much do you guys want to get there and get that revenge against the team that knocked you off last season?
Don't get me wrong. I feel like Lee's a great team, and I feel like it's personal because a former player of ours is over there. But we'd be happy to face anybody in the championship. I feel like the championship itself is memorable no matter who we play. But, of course, Lee has a little extra spark to them because we have a former player over there, and they did just beat us on buzzer beater fashion. So it's like that hurt is still in your chest a little bit. You want to get some get back, but when that time comes, that time comes, and that'll hopefully be on Sunday. So.
Yeah, right. At the end of the day, just winning the GSC tournament and the regular season championship is kind of like, that's get back enough.
For sure.
But when looking back at this season, I know it's not over and it's really just getting started with tournament play kicking off tonight. What's your favorite memory from this season?
My favorite memory from this season, it would have to be not something I did. It would be something Mike Griffin and Braxton did. So I forgot who we were playing, but somebody threw a bad pass, and Mike Griffin saved it and threw it off the backboard to Braxton, and then we kind of got viral off of it.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that was on overtime, right?
Yeah, I feel like
it was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of. I feel like people knew who we were, but like a lot of my friends were like, "Bro, that's y'all, that's y'all." Like, I feel like it kind of put us on the map a little bit because now people were like, "Okay, they're not just on overtime; they're pretty good." Because at that point, I want to say we only had one loss or we were undefeated. So it's like I feel like other people started to really pay attention to us, and that was my favorite moment because. If you know Braxton Mike G, they want dunks bad, so they was waiting to get their moment in the game, and he finally got it. So. Yeah,
so moving forward, obviously got a lot of games to focus on right now, but moving forward, especially with going to Division I, what does y'all's team and your future personally look like next year?
That's another thing about looking forward. We came amongst ourselves when we found out the news in preseason workouts that. We weren't going to look too far ahead because we feel like if we looked too far ahead, we weren't going to grasp the moment that was in front of us. We knew we had a special team this year, so we really just try to focus on this year. Now, of course, you're going to peek at the future and see what it looks like, but we really try to focus on every day just getting better, and when Division I comes, Division I comes. But right now we're trying to win the GSC championship and then hopefully a national championship. So.
To hear the rest of our Zawdie Jackson interview, stay tuned. It's coming up shortly. I am so excited for this. It's the biggest music event of the year, Wolfstock 2024, coming Thursday, April 4th from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom right here at the University of West Georgia. Featuring performances by Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Caller, Lumina, EXO, and great friend to the show, Kamal Saucier. Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Osier Apparel, and Illuminated Productions.
The NBA is back. Let's go.
Schroeder, LeBron doing it again! Reverse slam from Schroeder!
Yeah, get it, Gabby. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good job,
Now,
guys.
last Sports Pack, I not only dug the grave for these Golden State Warriors, but I put them in the grave.
Yeah, we all had some choice words.
I said that the Steph Curry-led Golden State Warriors would never win another playoff series. Well, last night, at home, against the Doc Rivers-led, the Giannis Antetokounmpo-led Milwaukee Bucks, they showed up and showed out, winning 125-90, a 35-point dismantling of one of the NBA title favorites. Now, Gianna,
yeah,
you're one of our insiders inside the NBA. I'm going to throw it to you first, Miss Wilcox.
Okay.
How do you feel about this Warriors performance? Is it more bad Bucks or good Dubs back on the right track?
I'm very impressed with this performance. It was a really good game. I was really surprised at how well the Warriors did defending the Bucks, especially Giannis. I mean, he's a powerhouse for that team, so it's really hard. Teams have to make sure they lock him down if they want any chance of beating them, no matter regular season or postseason. But I think this was more good dubs than bad Bucks because the Warriors were back to full strength for the first time in months. They have had so many injuries this season. So I think the fact they had their whole team back together, they were gelling more. Having the whole team is really a key to this win because people weren't trying to do things they weren't meant to do. People were playing in their roles, and you could see that in that game. And I'm mentioning their defense because they held the Bucks to only 9 points in that fourth quarter, while they scored 32. Absolutely insane. They went off last night. They were shutting up all the critics about their terrible loss to Boston. But yeah, it was really impressive.
Listen, I don't think anybody's going to forget about that loss to Boston anytime soon. I mean, it was flat out terrible. I would lean more so into bad Bucks than good Warriors because the Warriors have been able to score on the entire season. So them putting up 125 points, that's expected. But, I mean, it's also expected for them to have some sort of a bounce-back game after getting thrashed out by 50 points. I mean, everybody's been slandering them. Everybody on this nobody at this table had a positive thing to say about the Warriors on Monday.
You're right.
So you would think they're going to bounce back at some point. And the Bucks have been 6-0 since All-Star break. This is their first loss since. They're 6-1 now. I mean, they were due to slip up at some point. Now, they slipped up pretty big with a big loss to the Warriors. But the Warriors had to have something. They were inspired to play this game. They lost by 50 points. If they didn't come out and beat the next team by 30, then nothing else would have been good enough. A 1-point win wouldn't have been good enough. They needed to bounce back. They just had to, I guess that 50-point loss just woke them up. They're going to be back to being one of the higher scoring teams in the NBA. So this doesn't really surprise me. They needed to bounce back, but I'd say more so bad Bucks than good Warriors. It's kind of the same Warriors.
I will say everyone did expect them to bounce back, but not against a team like the Bucks who have been very successful, like you said, 6-game winning streak since the All-Star break. So I think that's why it's really catching everyone's attention because it's the Bucks and it's so recent after that 50-point loss.
I mean, I think this is a good dub. Good dub for the Dubs,
Nice.
but I think this is more of an inconsistent Milwaukee Bucks team. Really, I think that's the kind of angle I want to take because you've been talking about how the Warriors had to bounce back, right? You had to win by 30 in order for it to be good enough, right, Richard? So I look at this as an inconsistent Bucks. Yes, they've been They were 6-0 since All-Star break going into that, but before that they had been losing and losing and losing. Then before that they've been winning. Yes, you can argue that maybe the change of coaching, was the reason for that, and it probably is, but. This Milwaukee Bucks team is concerning me now because inconsistency does not win championships. And yes, you still got a long season to go. You still got a lot of games to play. But if you have a team that just lost to the Celtics by 50 points, come and beat you by 30, it's not a good look for the Bucks. So right. I think that it's more of an inconsistency for them because they have the talent. They're not a bad team, obviously. They've got two of the best players in the league starting for them. So I think if they can just fix their inconsistencies, they'll be just fine. On the Warriors' end, yes, it's a good win for them. It's a great team in the NBA that they just beat. Especially after coming off that awful loss to Boston. But really, it doesn't move me. I don't think the Warriors have the talent anymore. I don't think they have the consistency anymore to be able to make any type of run in any playoff situation. So really, it's a good win for them, but it doesn't move me. The Bucks, though, they have to remain consistent.
For me, this Golden State Warriors performance is very impressive. But the way I look at it, let's say you're spending an afternoon with your grandpa, okay?
What?
You take him to the gym to shoot some hoops, right? Now, when Grandpa was in college, he was all state. He was great, right? He was incredible, right?
Right.
He was all conference, did
Sure.
a lot of incredible things.
Sure.
But obviously, the back surgeries, the hip surgeries, all those injuries accumulated over the years.
Okay.
He lost the sauce. But this one time you took him to the gym, he was popping threes like Cole Fisher, right? Shout out to Triple Threat, interviewing Cole Fisher, dropping this upcoming Monday. Can't wait for it. But he was popping threes. He was looking like the old school hooper
we
he
get
used
it.
to be.
Golden State
I know
Warriors.
guys that
great.
This is what that Warriors performance was. To me, this was one last great performance. Now, there may be a few more scattered in there. There might be a playoff series. They have one vintage performance where they look like the Golden State Warriors of old. But at the end of the day, this is more about a pathetic Milwaukee Bucks team that, yes, they already have 40 wins, but they're getting bounced in the first round. I'm looking at the Eastern Conference standings right now. Give me Boston, Cleveland, Orlando, New York, Philly with Embiid back, and my Miami Heat all over the Bucks in a 7-game series right now. I do not believe in this Bucks team. Their defense is outrageously awful. It is one of the worst in the NBA. They took a huge step back after the acquisition of Damian Lillard. I think at the end of the day, keeping Drew Holiday would have given them a better shot at a second championship with Giannis. I don't like this fit. I don't like their future. I'm predicting right now today, Damian Lillard finishes with 0 rings in Milwaukee.
Jesus.
Now, a huge game tonight in Denver, Colorado, home of the defending NBA champion, Denver Nuggets. The Mile High is going crazy. Okay. Carly's not on air, but she's clapping.
Okay.
But the big, bad Boston Celtics, shout out to Jackson Voles, he's out there listening, are coming to town as a favorite. Now, Denver's being disrespected, ladies and gentlemen. They're the reigning champs. They got the best player in the world, the likely 3-time MVP in 4 years, Nikola Jokic, but they are a 1.5-point underdog at home against those red-hot Boston Celtics, led by another MVP candidate in Jason Tatum. Now, Richard, we're going to kick this off with you. Who wins tonight and why, and potentially the biggest game of the season so far? The Denver Nuggets or those red-hot Boston Celtics?
It's going to be a battle. I mean, both teams are coming off big time losses in close games. I just drew a blank. On Tuesday, the Celtics lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers 105-104, and the Nuggets lost in an overtime. They took an overtime L to the Suns. So I mean, they're both coming off big time losses in great games. They both went down to the wire. Kevin Durant just took over that game against the Nuggets on Tuesday. So when I look at this game, I can really see it going either way. Both these teams are going to be looking to bounce back because they were both on 4-game winning streaks before those losses. Two of the best teams in the NBA, a lot of the greatest players in the NBA. I think it's going to be a battle, but I'm leaning Nuggets right now. I'm liking the Nuggets. I love what Jokic does. We already know Jokic is always going to show up. Jamal Murray and the crew, they are also going to pull it up. They're in the bargain. It's going to be a great game. I can see it going either way. I think it's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be a battle. As of right now, I'm leaning the Nuggets, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jason Tatum masterclass coming off that loss to the Cavaliers and see the Celtics bounce back.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely going to be a dogfight down to the wire. Another hard game for both of these teams because, you mentioned they had those hard losses. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to lean Celtics, and that's because they have been so fierce with the rebounding game. I'm sorry, Carly. I know that's your team. I'm sorry. But the Celtics have been so fierce with the rebounding game this season. They're the league's leader with 36.7 defensive rebounds per game. I think it's going to be key with this Nuggets team. If they can get boards and get down and get a lot of fast break points, I think they will be very successful in this game, so I'm going to go Celtics.
Now, the last time that they played, the Denver Nuggets beat the Boston Celtics by 2 points. It was 102-100, and you can argue, that's a high-scoring game, but that was a great defensive game. Yes, there were a couple of guys that had standout performances like Jokic, like Jamal Murray for the Nuggets, and of course Tatum and Jaylen Brown had a great game. But that was a great defensive matchup. And like you said, a lot of rebounds happened in that game. So I think the battle you're going to continue to see is Kristaps Porzingis versus Jokic in the paint. Who's going to get more boards? Who's going to make more of an impact on the inside? Because if they can keep getting the ball, if they can get second attempt shots if they're missing, that's the key to win. Because when you look at the Denver Nuggets, best chemistry in the league. The team is literally fit together perfectly to work through Nikola Jokic's play style. So it's going to be a really close game. I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics. They're extremely hot right now. They're really hard to beat. Yes, but look, let me kind of forecast a little bit. But going into the playoffs, I think the Denver Nuggets are going to have a better playoff performance on the Western Conference side than the Celtics would on the Eastern Conference side. But right now in this matchup, the Celtics are too hot. Give me Boston.
I echo your sentiments entirely. Look, there is no franchise in the NBA I hate more than the Boston Celtics. Coming off a very tough loss to the Cavs, who are also red hot, I think the Celtics get it done tonight. A huge statement victory, but guess what? That's why the Boston Celtics aren't winning a championship this season. This is their championship tonight. Winning big regular season games means a lot to the Celtics. They get to the playoffs, they fold. The same story will repeat this year, whether it's to my Miami Heat or not. Those Celtics are not winning a championship. Now, if you want to watch this incredible Nuggets-Celtics game tonight in the best restaurant known to man in the history of the world, look no further than Jefferson's in Carrollton. They have 20 flat-screen TVs, a full bar with not 13, not 14, not 15, but 16 draft beers. Please drink responsibly. A covered porch, and they also have a beautiful, fun outdoor area for cornhole. So whether it's the big game or you just want a chill afternoon with the friends and family, Jefferson's in Carrollton is your full stop for fun. Located at 342 Maple Street. Visit their website at jeffersons.com or follow them on Instagram at Jeffersons_Carrollton. Now, quick break. But when we come back, it's NFL free agency time. You're listening to Wolf Sports Network.
This is Super Bowl champion quarterback Brad Johnson, and you're listening to Sports Pack on the Wolf Sports Network.
quick reminder for those of you watching on YouTube and or Twitch, we are indeed a radio station first, and we're taking a song break right now, so you can go over to wolfsportsnetwork.com, hit the play button in the top left corner of the screen, and listen to the song break. And then once we get back going, talking about the NFL and free agency, you can either stick around on radio or hop on back over to YouTube or Twitch to finish out the show. We'll be back soon.
Stages of grief that every man must conquer. Denial. You know the 49ers are more equipped for a Super Bowl,
You
run.
know they're not.
Anger.
Joel B. Lilly dominates
Luke
it.
can do
let
it all.
Me talk.
Depression.
Like, we can't rebound. We can't play defense. I am done watching the Hawks this year.
Here on Twin Picks, we tackle all the emotions. So tune in to Sports Out of Pocket every Wednesday at 5 on Wolf Sports Network.
In a recent survey, almost 53% of full-time college students ages 18 to 22 drank alcohol in the past month. That is why Printer's Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind you there is no drinking under the age of 21. Never drink and drive, even if it's just one beer. And add some food and water when you drink so you don't end up texting your ex. Load up on that Jeffersons and know your limits.
In the NFL, only one thing matters: chasing a dynasty.
Now, there were reports earlier in the week that the Pittsburgh Steelers had no interest whatsoever in adding a new quarterback. That means Justin Fields, that means Kirk Cousins, and by association, that meant a fresh free agent on the market, Mr. Russell Wilson.
What Richard tell you?
But today, just like when the Avatar vanished, everything changed.
Good reference.
It was reported that the Steelers are expected to meet with the former Broncos quarterback before free agency begins. Remember, the Broncos are paying him a boatload of money. He's going to make $39 million from them this year. Sorry, Carly. It's a terrible high number. Broncos in cap hell because of it. But you know what? That's what happens. You've got a really bad organization that puts out, signs players to bad contracts. But
all right,
the Steelers have a lot of interest in Russell, apparently. And Russell has a lot of interest in the Steelers as well. They can sign him for a cheap contract. Maybe he can come in, compete with Kenny Pickett, compete with Mason Rudolph if he decides to stay, and potentially be the Steelers' new starting QB for the 2024 season. Richard, if the Steelers were to sign Russell Wilson, and he does indeed start in week 1, what is the ceiling of this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
I mean, they could definitely compete for the AFC North. Now, the AFC North was one of the better divisions in football. You still have the Cincinnati Bengals, who are going all in on this season. The Baltimore Ravens are still out there. They're going to try to stack the deck at receiver and probably bolster up that secondary some more in this draft class. There are teams in there. This is a stacked division. And let's not forget the Cleveland Browns. They still have Deshaun Watson, see if that experiment works out. But I think they could definitely compete as long as they bolster up that offensive line alongside Russell Wilson. Because one thing that's plagued Russell Wilson everywhere he's played is bad offensive line play. Even in Denver, he was the most sacked quarterback in a single season in Denver's franchise history, something crazy like that. He got hit more times than Peyton Manning did his whole tenure there in Denver in year 1. I mean, it was insane. So if you stack up that offensive line with the young running backs that you have, Najee Harris, and then you still have George Pickens out there, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Darnell Washington, who was very underused in that offense last year, run-heavy scheme with all those offensive weapons on the perimeter. You got yourself a winner right there. That's one of the better offenses that the Steelers have had in, 5-6 years at this point. That's what the Steelers need. That's what they need to wake them back up, get them back on the right path, and get folks to finally shut up about firing Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, definitely.
Pulse on offense.
Yeah, because, Mike Tomlin's the reason that they've been winning, really, all these years. But I look at it this way. New offensive coordinator, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Smith, went to Pittsburgh, right? And you mentioned Darnell Washington in that run game. He's fit for that, right? Arthur Smith is fit for a run-heavy offense and a lot of big tight ends using them to block, right? You look at the years in Seattle for Russell Wilson, what do they have? They had a great run game and solid receivers that did their job, right? It took a lot of pressure off of him. You look at him in Denver, it was the opposite. He had all the pressure, like you mentioned. He didn't have a great offensive line. Receivers weren't really, consistent. Couldn't rely on Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton was his number one target, and that run game was abysmal. You go over to the Steelers. It's a great fit for him. It's a great run game. Najee Harris has had an early career resurgence, rushing for 1,000 yards. Jalen Warren, backup running back, rushed for 700. Had a couple touchdowns each. Really, Najee had 8 and Jalen Warren had 6. It was pretty good numbers, right? For a two-back system. Russell Wilson fitting in this Pittsburgh offense is going to be amazing if he goes there because it takes the pressure off him. You can rely on a good run game. Like you said, bolster up the offensive line, make the run game even better. And then you've got receivers that may not get you the flashiest catches, may not get you elite speed necessarily every single game, but a guy like George Pickens is a guy that's going to get many yards after catch.
Yeah, I was about to say a guy that can turn into a superstar.
Correct. What I'm saying is he's got playmakers is what I'm saying. He's got people that can extend plays, turn trash plays, garbage plays into ones that can score touchdowns, ones that can make, big gains on yardage. So this is the perfect offense for Russell Wilson. You also look at Seattle. That defense was incredible the entire time he was there pretty much up until the last couple years. Pittsburgh's defense, top 5 in the league, yet again, takes more pressure off of Russell Wilson. All you got to do, you look at Arthur Smith's offensive scheme, what did Desmond Ridder do last year? A lot of play action, dump off, quick passes, easy passes, getting the ball to the receiver, to the skill position. That's what Russell Wilson is made for. He goes to Pittsburgh winning at least 10, 11 games, to be honest.
A lawyer is going to be elite next year.
Their secondary is pretty weak, I'll say that. They had Patrick Peterson at safety last year.
A lawyer once infamously said, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
That's crazy.
And if the glove does fit, you might have to get that finger fit for a Super Bowl ring. Russell Wilson would fit this Pittsburgh Steelers offense led by new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith like a glove. What do we see when we look at this Pittsburgh Steelers offense? We see incredible talent at both the wide receiver position and the running back position. We have a tight end in Pat Freiermuth who is undoubtedly top 10 when healthy. We have an offensive line that will take a huge step forward with the acquisition of a right tackle in the draft. I think 20th overall, we either take Amarius Mims out of Georgia or we take J.C. Latham out of Alabama, Roll Tide. We look at our right tackle right now, Broderick Smith, going to shift him to the left side. I would actually prefer Amarius Mims because you'd rebuild that Georgia offensive line. You'd have Mims on one side. It would be absolutely dominant. You'd have Broderick on the other side, dominant, protect whoever the quarterback is. Russell Wilson could flourish yet again, and he's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. If not for the worst play call in NFL history, he would be a 2-time Super Bowl champion back-to-back, also knocking off the GOAT in Tom Brady. This Steelers defense with a healthy TJ Watt, now that's the biggest caveat. TJ Watt has to be healthy, but if TJ Watt stays healthy, you still got Minka. You could add some secondary depth in this draft. The linebacker core looks a lot better. I think this Pittsburgh Steelers team can take it to the next level, contend for the AFC North, and contend for a Super Bowl with the services of Russell Wilson. Steelers country, less smelt.
I think it's that's crazy. But, I'm with you. I think it's a match made in heaven. We talked about it on Monday. I think it's a perfect fit. You've got some young wide receivers. Deontay Johnson still scratching the surface of what he can be. And George Pickens can be a flat-out superstar in the NFL. I think putting a capable quarterback and Russell Wilson right there, he's going to shine. He's going to show everybody he can still flat-out ball. I think it's a perfect fit.
And don't forget, you mentioned that you thought the Steelers had a weak secondary, and that's kind of true. They were dealing with injuries. But they were dealing with injuries. What team just dumped off almost all of their secondary? The Bills. There's still a lot of solid players on the free agent market. That safety free agent class right now is insanely loaded. So there's plenty of guys for the for the Steelers to go get.
Oh, yeah, it won't be hard to patch up the secondary. I was just saying the secondary needs some work as well.
So part of me was like, you know what? I hope Russell Wilson causes the Steelers as much misery as he caused us.
This wasn't him,
though. The more y'all were talking and the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Like, it kind of does make sense because sometimes a quarterback just needs to be in the environment that's going to well suit them. Right. And the Broncos wasn't that for Russell Wilson. I mean, we saw it with Bo Nix at Auburn. Like, it was just not a good environment. It wasn't a good environment for him to grow. And then we saw him at Oregon, and he totally, grew out of the water.
Now he's a top 5 quarterback in the draft class.
Exactly. So, it's not just the quarterback, but it's offensive line and it's defensive line. So
yeah, Carly, I can see it. Something about the teams you root for, just terrible places for quarterbacks to go. It's kind of crazy.
Now, another huge free agent on the market. Another one Richard has been talking about a ton, Saquon Barkley. It was reported today he and the Eagles have a ton of mutual interest. They might be working toward a deal. If Saquon signs up in Philly with Jalen Hurts and those boys, do we think the Eagles take back the NFC East?
No. They still have a lot more things to fix, and running back is not their biggest issue. DeAndre Swift was a great running back for them this year. He had 1,000-plus yards. They just got away from the run and started relying on the pass. They have a problem with their offensive coordinator. Their play calling was terrible. They need better route concepts with those receivers, and now they have a whole lot center on the offensive line. The offensive line already wasn't as good as it was last year, and their secondary is insanely weak. They have a lot more holes to fix. They don't need to worry about going free agent at running back. They need to go patch up their secondary. If I'm Saquon Barkley, I'm looking at a team like the Houston Texans, a team that made the division around the playoffs this past year, got beat by the Ravens, yes, but if you give them an elite running back that can get it done between the tackles, and also it's arguably the best pass-catching running back in the NFL outside of guys like Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, you're putting a dynamic piece on that Texans offense that makes them an AFC championship game contender. You put Saquon on that Texans team, explosive run game, and what he can do out of the backfield running routes, oh my gosh, it'd be ridiculous.
Now, you said you're looking at a team like the Houston Texans who got beat out by the Ravens. I'm looking at the Ravens for Saquon Barkley because you mentioned he's one of the best pass-catching running backs in the NFL. That offense is built for him then. Lamar, little option plays, get Saquon out in open space, or just dump the ball off. The main issue that I saw with Baltimore's offense, and yet Gus Edwards had a lot of solid games later in the season, but their run game was just weak. It was incredibly weak. They couldn't get anything going on the ground long term. It was a lot of goal line.
They had a lot of injuries in the backfield.
And it was a lot of goal line plays for the running game. They scored a lot of touchdowns on the run, but they didn't have a lot of productivity on the running game. So you bring a guy like Saquon Barkley and you pay him, all of a sudden that offense, the one hole you had in that offense, I guess you could argue technically the receiving core, but Lamar makes it work and Zay Flowers is very good. They might need one more guy. But you patch the one main hole that's in that offense for the Baltimore Ravens, and all of a sudden you're continuing to compete for AFC championships year after year after year. You pay him 3 years even. All 3 years, you're going to be in the AFC championship regardless of who else you play. So I think Saquon Barkley needs to go to the Baltimore Ravens. That's a lock for me. That's an AFC Championship lock, and that's a Super Bowl lock for the Ravens.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. They just need to run the ball more than 10 times in an AFC Championship game. Maybe they would have won it. And then another thing is, like, they can't stay healthy at running back. J.K. Dobbins had 2 catastrophic injuries. They found a gem late in the draft, and Keaton Mitchell, catastrophic knee injury as well. So they really just need to stay healthy at running back. I love the fit with Saquon in Baltimore. I think it'd be perfect with Todd Monken's offense. But I feel like the Texans are going to be a little more aggressive, throw a little bit more money at them. Pair them up with D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud. Oh, my goodness. When I say a match made in heaven.
Now, look. Jalen Hurts, if Saquon Barkley signs with the Philadelphia Eagles, will be playing No Child Left Behind because Saquon would do miracles for Jalen Hurts' game, okay? The Philadelphia Eagles would win the NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys are set to lose 6 to 8 key contributors in free agency. Jerry Jones the other day was on the record saying, we don't really want to spend a lot of money in free agency. We can replace 1 big-time player with 3 cheap in the draft.
Love the accent.
So guess what? This Cowboys team is due for a step back. This Eagles team, led by new offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, is due to rise again. I think this Eagles team, with the addition of Saquon Barkley, will be lethal and win the NFC East. Jefferson's in Carrollton dine in or carry out is perfect for any schedule and any need. Download their app now for Jefferson's in your belly later. Jefferson's in Carrollton's open Sunday to Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Thursday to Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m.
It may not be March, but the madness has already begun.
Up in time, Clark for the win. There's a takeaway and a run out the poster. Dante Scott absolutely throttles the rim.
We are officially in the last week of the regular season for college basketball before we are knocking on the door of March Madness. This Saturday, the biggest game in the country. We got Kansas, number 14 in the country, on the road taking on the number 1 Houston Cougars with their best defense yet. Richard, you've been high on Kansas all year long. They won the national championship just a couple years ago. Big time matchup, biggest matchup for the rest of the regular season. Who are you riding with and why? The Jayhawks or the Cougars?
The biggest thing for Kansas this weekend is health. They need Kevin McCullough Jr. back, and they need him back now. He's their highest. He scores the most points per game for them at 19.1. They need him back. He's been battling a knee injury for the past few weeks. They need him back ASAP to have a chance at beating Houston. As of right now, he's listed as questionable for Saturday's game. But even if he does come back, it'll be his first game back in like 3, 4, or 5 games. I can't really remember the exact number, but he's been out for a while, and that's why they've been on this skid where they've been dropping a lot of games where they would normally win them. They need him back. They need that scoring. But if I'm him, this is the last team I want to come back against. This is the best defense in the country, pound for pound. 2 of the best guards in the country with Jamal Shead and L.J. Cryer. This Houston team is flat out dominant, and they're looking to continue their dominance to a Big 12 regular season championship and through Big 12 tournament play. I don't see Kansas taking this game home. I think they're going to make it a fight with guys like Hunter Dickinson. I think they're going to really step up and try to battle, even if McCullough Jr. does not play. But they need him back. They need his scoring back, at least a taste of it before the tournament starts, because without him, they've been struggling.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Looking at this Kansas team throughout the season, there's been a lot of ups and downs, right? A lot of great wins, but then again, losing to teams like Texas Tech, losing to teams like BYU, Baylor. And yes, you can argue some of them are some tougher teams to play, but at the same time, if you're looking to make a deep run in the tournament, if you're looking to really go out and compete for a championship, those are some games you have to win. I mean, they lost to UCF. This isn't a team that – okay, here's the issue with Kansas, really. Like you said, outside of Kevin McCullough Jr., this team has a lot of holes to fill, right? He's kind of the glue, in my opinion. He's the glue that brings them all together. He's the one that runs the entire offense. Outside of that, they don't really have a guard, in my opinion, that can take that step forward and fill his role when he's gone. Yes, he's coming back, but at the same time, it might be too late for him. This game, though, will determine a lot about who I pick in the tournament, because if Kansas can pull off the win, it's going to shake up my bracket a lot, the one that I've been looking at. Looking at Houston, I look at the consistency throughout the entire starting 5. That's a team, really, anyone can step up at any moment. They play really well together, and yes, Richard, a great defensive team, one of the best in the country. And as we've been talking about all year long, college basketball has kind of evolved. You even see it here at the Division II level, where defense is what's winning games now. Zawdie Jackson, who we interviewed, had a great point about what Coach Dave Moore said. He said, offense will always find a way, but you've got to be able to play good defense to be able to limit these high-scoring teams. And if you can do that, your offense offense will get the job done and you'll win a lot of games. It's going to come down to who can lock down the other team better, who's going to have more presence in the paint, get more offensive boards and defensive boards, and the team that does that is going to pull through with the win.
You know what? I respect Bill Self. I respect Kansas. But they're losing by double digits this Saturday. This Houston Cougars team is the best unit in the country. Their defense is next level. Them and Iowa State, by far the two best defenses in college basketball right now. That's why I agree with you, Richard. I think Iowa State goes deep, but that's why Houston is my favorite for the national championship. They've had a few years now where they look like the best team. Remember a few years ago on Sports Pack, I picked them to win the national championship. They went on a very deep run, didn't end up getting it done, but guess what? They're due. It's just almost like Purdue in a sense. But I trust Houston slightly more than I trust Purdue in the big game. I think Zach Edey's incredible, but you get to the Final Four, get to the national championship, I think Houston will suffocate whoever they go against. That journey has been going all season, but I think for a lot of people in America that are just tuning into college basketball now, it starts this Saturday when they dismantle Kansas. Now, a huge top 10 matchup this Saturday at UNC, at Duke, the best rivalry in college basketball. Duke, North Carolina, storylines obviously abound. The two teams at the top of the ACC, by far the two best in the conference, battling for supremacy. Duke, a very narrow favorite, even though North Carolina is ranked ahead of them a little bit, number 7 versus number 9. Richard, who do you have winning the biggest rivalry game of the year?
I don't know. It's going to be a nasty one. I mean, they played a few weeks ago, and North Carolina pulled it out by 9, but it was still a good game. They kept it close towards the Duke. Got it back close towards the end. These are two very competitive teams, but Duke's a little hot right now. Duke's been balling. Guys like Filipowski have been straight up playing out of their minds. I mean, Jared McCain, it's hard because also guys like R.J. Davis and Baycott have been balling out for North Carolina, so it's extremely difficult to see. R.J. Davis has proven that he can go out and get a bucket no matter who's guarding him. He's a flat-out scorer, but when he's even in games where like a few games ago, he scored 42 points against Miami. Well, it still ended up being an extremely close game against Miami because the rest of the North Carolina team didn't rise to the occasion. So looking forward to this game on Saturday, I feel like we're going to see another great performance out of R.J. Davis. He might drop 30. But I don't know if the rest of the North Carolina team is going to be ready to rise to the occasion and back him up. So I think the Duke Blue Devils are going to pull it out. I still think it's going to be a battle. I think even if the other role players step up and really help out R.J. Davis, it's still going to be a dogfight because both of these teams are stacked. These are two of the best teams in the ACC. But as of right now, I'm slightly leaning Duke, Filipowski, Jared McCain, and those guys. I think they're going to get it done by 3.
Yeah, I mean, Duke's been on a roll lately, beating teams like Louisville, Virginia, and North Carolina State, and they may not be ranked, but those are still tough squads to face, especially Virginia, and yes, R.J. Davis, I mean, he's been on an incredible run, one of the best college seasons I've seen from any player in a very long time, to be honest, and he's gonna do really well in the NBA when he gets there. But this North Carolina team, people are still sleeping on them. They've had a couple losses throughout the season, and after that, people stopped talking about them. They say, oh, I don't think they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. This is still a team that can go out and win a national championship tomorrow. And really, you can say that about a lot of teams, but North Carolina is special. Whenever the other guys on the team are on, that's a team that you really can't beat because R.J. Davis is always going to give you a solid game. But if other guys can step up, unlike they did against Miami, like what you said, right? But if the other guys can step up, and that team is very close to unbeatable. They beat a team like Houston. They beat a team like Kansas. They beat a lot of the top teams. You can't sleep on them. Looking at Duke, they're always going to be a story program. Filipowski is always going to be a great player. Throughout the season, he's going to continue to develop. But I think that North Carolina, when they put the pieces together, are just too much to handle. That's a team that's very hard to beat when they're all on. So I'm going to go North Carolina here.
Close game. I mean, this is the best rivalry, like I said, in college basketball. Arguably the best rivalry in all of college athletics. I'm partial to the Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama. A lot of people are partial toward Michigan, Ohio State. But Duke, North Carolina is historic. I mean, for the last 20, 30 years, they have had some of the most epic battles in the history of the sport. Give me Duke at home. They always split, usually every year it's 1-1. I think at home, coming in, yes, they're favored, but they're still ranked behind North Carolina. They got a lot to gain winning this game. I think Duke steps it up and gets the job done. Binge drinking is consuming 5 drinks or more on one occasion for males and 4 drinks or more for females. However, some college students drink at least twice that amount. That is why Printer's Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to make sure all of our Wolves stay safe when drinking. Never drink under the age of 21 and always have a designated driver. Oh, and throw in some good food, like some Jefferson's Wings, right? Visit printers-ale.com to learn more about their weekly food truck options. Now that the ad's out of the way, enjoy the second part of our Zawdie Jackson interview.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby. Go Wolves.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is Coach Dave Moore. I mean, one of the finest coaches, not only at the Division II level, but in all of college basketball, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure his practices are incredibly intense. We see on the sidelines him screaming, yelling, going crazy. It feels like this season there's just a little extra sauce. There's a little extra spice. There's a little extra something with this Wolves basketball team. You guys seem so in sync. The ball movement's incredible. Everyone gets involved. The energy is just on another level. Can you speak to Dave Moore's performance as a coach this year and what's different about this team from just the vibe perspective?
I would say Coach Moore should win GSC Coach of the Year.
Amen.
I feel like we had a drastic turnaround from last year. People ranked us 4th this year or 3rd this year, and now we won the conference, so I feel like that speaks enough for itself. But as you said, I feel like this year Coach Moore has done a great job of really instilling us what matters, and that's defense. I don't know if you guys know, but we're top 2 or 3 in defense, depending on the game, in the country field goal percentage, so I feel like that's really a staple of him ensuring that no possession is perfect, and defense is really what's going to propel you to win. Offense will take care of itself because we have talented players, but defense is really, what makes us go, in my opinion. So I will give all the credit to him and not letting anyone slack, holding everybody accountable. I feel like as players we hold ourselves accountable, but if your coach is yelling at you, that's going to make you get right quick. So.
Nah, seriously. Defense wins championships, and a lot of times in basketball, we see dominant defense lead to explosive offense with fast break points, points off turnovers, and things of that nature. And I know y'all have been great with that all season because of that ferocious defense.
Facts. Fast. We a pretty athletic team, in my opinion. So,
nah, seriously.
And, I mean, we've also seen players like Cam Donelon, Marlon Smith, and Colton Griffin all take their game to the next level because last year we had a lot of talent. You and Mike were the Batman and Robin of the team. There were some other great players, but for the most part, you guys were taking over, dominating. Now we see you take over as the main man, but a lot of these other guys have nights where they step up. Cam will put up 20. Colton Griffin will put up, 10 rebounds. We have a lot of guys out there putting in these great efforts where they're really showcasing their talents. How much growth have you seen from the team as a whole, not just the starters, but the bench, everyone this season?
I would say that's the main reason we're successful this year because, like you said, last year it was Batman and Robin, but I feel like this year it's more of a team effort. Like you can't really focus on one person or you can't really focus on 2 people and then somebody else will go off. I feel like another reason we're good, too, because we have a prolific scorer coming off the bench. So I feel like we try to focus on me and Cam too much, and then we got a guy coming off the bench that can go get you 20, 25 points. It's like it really defeats teams. So I would say this year our supporting cast is a lot better. And it's not all about scoring. Like you said, it's about playing your role, whether that's rebounds, playing hard, playing together, getting assists. From guys like Malcolm Noel to Mike Griffin, even to Braxton and Sean, even to our red shirts, playing hard every day in practice for us. I mean, I feel like everybody is a vital piece to this team. Everybody's important. So I feel like we have a better supporting cast than we did last year.
Yeah, you're talking about how great the supporting cast is and having prolific scorers coming off the bench. Are there any players that you really want to give a special shout-out to for how they've played this season, or maybe even some red shirts that have been balling out, testing y'all in every single practice?
Honestly, I'm going to give a shout-out to both of my freshmen. I would say Cam Merritt from Carrollton, homegrown. He really pushes me because, he's one of the guys who beats me to practice every day. So that kind of motivates me, okay, I need to get to practice because I know he's working out. He's trying to get better. He wants to play one-on-one. And the other guy I would say is Brady. Me and Brady are really cool. He's a redshirt freshman from Ohio. We really work out together. So, a lot of days I may not feel like it or I'm tired or I'm sore. He'll beat me to the gym. He'll be on the shooting machine, or he'll text me, let's go shoot, let's go do this, let's go do that. So he really just kind of lights that fire up under me, okay, maybe you're not that tired. Maybe you can get up some more shots. If he's doing it, why can't you do it?
So, like, how does that accountability with not just, like, your teammates but also your coaches kind of go into how this team has kind of become a brotherhood?
Accountability is number one. I feel like those are the best teams who can hold each other accountable. It's one thing if your coach is yelling at you, but if your brother or your teammate or some of us are best friends with each other, we talk to each other every day nonstop. So if we're holding each other accountable, I feel like that's only going to propel our team forward. Coaches are one thing, but, like, if your brother or sister were to yell at you, it's going to hit a little different.
Now, you said you had some very special shout-outs to get to, so the floor is yours.
First, I want to thank God for allowing us to have a great season. I feel like without him, none of this is possible. I just want to always thank him first and foremost. Secondly, I want to thank my teammates because we talked about this. Coach Moore talked about this in our very first meeting of the year, that we were a special team, a special group, and I just want to say thank them for really following the game plan. We planned this out. We planned to go undefeated and win the GSC championship from August, the first day of school. So I want to thank them and thank all my trainers, coaches, and anybody who's helped me along my way.
So you mentioned in your shout-outs, like, you thank God for this. So, like, how does faith kind of play a part in the team or just your personal journey?
I would say it plays a major part in me and the team as well. Cole Fisher, our starting shooting guard, he hosts a Bible study for us about once a week.
Oh, nice. Depending
on our schedule. So he really like brought us together. It's about 4 or 5 of us who come consistently on a steady basis, and I feel like meeting with him every week has really increased my faith, and I feel like that's the reason we're playing good, if I'm being completely honest with you. I feel like my deeper connection with faith, as well as the 4 or 5 of us that go, has propelled us forward like no other season in my life. This is the most special season I've ever had in my life. So
that's awesome.
I really want to give him all the credit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's all the time we have left today with friend of the show, Superstar Z, GSC Player of the Year candidate, Mr. Zawdie Jackson. Thank you so much, Zawdie, for coming out yet again, and good luck to your Wolves tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. I hope y'all pull up.
Now listen, if you have any plans Thursday, April 4th, I want you to pull up that calendar. It can be iPhone, it can be Google, it can be whatever, and cancel those plans. Because from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom, Wolfstock kicks off, featuring performances by Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Kamal Saucier, EXO, Lumina, and the band Caller. It's the concert event of the year. Maybe you've been to Coachella, you thought that was great. Well, guess what, buddy? You ain't seen Wolfstock. Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Osier Apparel, Houses and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, and Illuminated Productions. Saturday, 5 o'clock Central Time. There you go. Your West Georgia Wolves are on the road in Birmingham, as Richard said, trying to get the GSC championship they so desperately covet. First on the list, West Alabama. Richard, I'm going to kick it to you. How far are these Wolves going?
These Wolves can win the whole thing, man. It's all about health at this point. Zawdie mentioned it in the interview. The healthiest teams win the championships. And us not being healthy almost cost us the other day against Union. They outscored us 43-39 in the first half, and that's mainly because our primary offensive rebounder, Tamari Relaford, was out. And we were dominated on the offensive boards. I didn't realize how big of a difference he made being out there. Him being out there made until this past game against Union. They dominated us. We were getting no second chance points. And the game really turned around halfway through the second half, and we ended up outscoring Union 48-33 in the second half, winning the game 87-76. Much closer than a lot of us thought. The game was electric. So really it's about which team is the healthiest. We need Tamari back ASAP. We need him crashing down on the boards. We got to out-rebound these teams. We need second chance points when the shots aren't falling. So I feel like it's about who's the healthier team, and can West Georgia out-rebound West Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, looking at our squad, we were already undersized regardless. Compared to many teams in the GSC, many teams in the country, we play a lot of small ball.
Right.
Everyone's getting rebounds, right? You're really spreading it out. Everyone's trying to make plays, crash into the board. But yes, Tamari Relaford is our main rebounding guy. He's our main defensive presence when he's in the paint. So you saw it, like you said, against Union. It made a big impact. A lot of our guys were taking shots they would normally take, maybe not the best, but we didn't have anybody to bail them out like we normally do. So they had to adjust, and they did a good job adjusting in the second half. But looking at this matchup, we're playing West Alabama, a team that we've lost to before, and a team we've beaten this year. We split with them. So it's going to be a close game regardless. Even if we had all of our guys fully healthy, Zawdie's going to play his game. He's going to have a great one. Marlon Smith's going to come off the bench and still have his game. One player in particular that I'd like to talk about is Cam Denatlin. Now, he was hurt for the last couple of games before this Union game, and he came back. He had a very solid game in the end, a very good stat line, but if you were there and you were watching, he was taking bad shots over and over and over again, driving into crowded lanes when you had Cole Fisher on the outside waiting for a 3-shot. So you've got to be able to take your personal, feelings out of it and say, I'm going to pass the ball out. Yes, I know he was excited to get back in the game, but you're trying to win a championship here. So Cam has got to be a better shot creator, take better shots, and be able to dish it out to his teammates when they're open.
It's never a good sign when the home fans are screaming at you every time you touch the ball to pass the ball.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think our Wolves can win this tournament. If you're not doing anything this weekend, you guys should totally go. It's in Birmingham, Pete Hanna Center at Samford University. Our game on Saturday is at 5 p.m. Central Time. And then if we do win that, we go on to the championship game at 3 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, and we'll either play Lee or Alabama Huntsville.
Now, if you're hungry, follow Dine West on Instagram at UWG_Dine_West. But guess what? Dine West isn't going to satisfy these Wolves. The only thing that will satisfy Richard.
Why are you saying my name? I said nothing.
These Wolves is a GSC championship. Flashback to last year. Who knocked us off? Lee in the championship game in heartbreaking fashion. Guess who's the number 2 seed? We're the number 1 seed because we're the best in the country, but they're the number 2 seed, Lee. And guess what? We are on a collision course with Lee for the championship on Sunday at 3 o'clock. The Office. Central Time. Thank you, Carly. The Office, Season 7, Episode 1, titled Nepotism. Look up what Michael Scott does to his nephew. That is what we are going to do to West Alabama this Saturday.
Straight belt to booty.
Yes, sir.
Belt to booty.
Yes, sir, Stanley. Stand up.
Belt to booty. Belt to booty.
Hey.
Because we have the best player in all of Division II basketball, Zawdie Jackson, propelling us through the GSC tournament. We're going to win it all.
We're going to take it all. And with all of that being said, Carly, got one last thought.
I wish y'all could see the veins coming out of these guys' foreheads.
Wolves up, baby! Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys pull up to Birmingham this Saturday and this Sunday. We're going to be there. This is all the time we have for Sports Back. Tune in again Monday, same bad time, same bad channel. Go Wolves!
You are now listening to WSN Wolf Sports Network.